Alright, so I went to Michael Wesch's speech on Thursday, yesterday, about knowledgeable versus knowledge able, and I thought it was an interesting concept, but I want to start out with the first thing he spoke about, which was his experience in Indonesia, I think it was, which I thought was really interesting. He said that before the census came, they didn't have names, and it's just like they referred to each other as brother or sister, whatever the relationship was. And I thought that was a really, I don't know, just kind of out there, because I can't even imagine it, but just the differences in society. But with the knowledgeable versus knowledge able, I did think it was an interesting concept, and he was talking about how lecture halls are created where all the seats point in one direction, and there's one person that's speaking, and all the different the feelings and the concepts about information in general and learning that creates, and I thought all of those were really interesting, and how the most common question you hear is how many points is this worth in that sort of situation, and it really is true, because people are more concerned about it's like just school in general. You kind of you learn everything enough so that you can pass a test, and then you move on to whatever you have to learn next. But I thought that was pretty cool, and he was talking about just the classroom structure, and it came to mind. We have lecture classes at UNC, and then you'll have a recitation where the big lecture halls of 400 people. And you have a recitation where it's more intimate, and there's 25 people maybe, and you're required to interact and discuss ideas, and what role that plays, because if it's just a lecture, then you don't interact with it at all. You're just kind of taking in, if you're taking in, and if you're not on Facebook, information, and not really thinking about it out loud, discussing it, and like I said, you kind of have to, you're not, in a lecture hall, you're not able to discuss whether or not that information is relevant. It's just, you have to take it as it is. So I thought that was cool. But with recitations, I mean, you're required to contribute, and it's that more intimate feeling. So it seems like that would get some of the critical thinking, and beyond that. Of course, he's talking about you need to be able to find information more than the new needs of a person in society are that you need to be able to find how to get information, and how to put things together, rather the skills to do it, rather than specific facts, which I think both are necessary to an extent. One extreme isn't going to be better than the other extreme necessarily. They're both going to be bad to the extreme, which I'm sure he wouldn't argue. But I thought also his presentation overall was really good. The way he organizes his, like, the actual presentation. And I think that's part of why his video went so far, is because of it's a well presented idea, and it's not the PowerPoint that everybody sees over and over. The same design, the same layout, and the content doesn't really matter, because you're already not paying attention because of the PowerPoint, which I think is also one of the problems with lectures, is you see the same basic PowerPoint over and over, and it doesn't matter what information's on it. It registers as the same thing, or doesn't register at all, more like it. But yeah, I think the recitations at least reach out to that critical thinking a little bit more. But at the same time, then me personally, I have a women's studies recitation, and in that recitation, I'm kind of talking, because I know if I don't talk 1 to 3 times per recitation, my grade is going to suffer because of it. And half the time, I'll make a comment just because of that. But then I have another class where the only assignment is a 2-page paper at the end, and you don't have to take notes or anything like that. And the idea is to actually learn the information and take it in. But at the same time, I don't know that people are actually paying attention to that, because they just want to take an easy class to get the credit. So part of the importance of this is that people actually want to learn, and but also we've been raised in, or I've, all my school experiences were, you do this, you get certain whatever percent of your grade. If you fail this test, you fail the class, kind of atmosphere. So you are more concerned about, picking up those points than about, gaining knowledge for the rest of your life. And how to learn things is kind of messed up. So I don't know. I thought it was a good point. I missed the last half hour because I had to go to my women's studies recitation. But I wish I could have stayed because it really was an interesting talk. And some of the stuff was things he had covered in his video. But I still, he presented them slightly differently. But all the Indonesia stuff and the knowledgeable wasn't quite what he covered in his video. So I thought that was pretty cool and something new. And I enjoyed going to the chat, but that's about all I got.